Just realized that my fucking mic was muted. Thank you for telling me, otherwise I wouldn't have. Yeah. What do you mean the audio stream's current bitrate? Go fuck yourself. Should be right now. Hey, Holy Rogue. What up? Ugh. Oh, you know what tonight is then? Tonight's not going to be a read and react. Tonight's not going to be a fucking gaming stream, a writing stream, or an index formatting stream. I think today's going to be an art therapy day. Shit that I want to get out, but can't. Oh, fuck it. Might as well get it out in artwork. I don't remember what I wanted to do. What's this color? Already got an orange. What's that? Nope, that's the same color as that. I don't want to fucking have more of that shit. Fucking orange again. I'll take it. Where's my pencil sharpener? Yeah, start doing some of your diamond art. Maybe one more. One more. Fuck it. I do these live streams as a way to get peace and stress relief while also feeling productive. But I hate the constant distractions every time. And I'm about to go switch laundry in a minute. When does this shit run out? Got an hour timer going. Yeah, 4 fucking minutes. But I need to do it because it's my fucking laundry for work. Dude, you're not fucking impressive on your motorcycle. Stop fucking revving it at the intersection, you cunt. Yeah. I'm gonna go in that direction with it. Something like this. Start right there. Dude, what the fuck, man? Start right there. And, like, right here. Wait, so we got the line. Now we highlight it with the good fucking marker. Oh, I gotta tilt this shit down. I don't find it a problem. It's pretty easy. It's well, not it's easy. It's laundry, but for me, some types of cleaning and organizing are actually soothing. Right, I didn't fucking stupid gimbal stick. Okay, got the water bottle. Got this crap. Aim down. Need you to stay on the... Push the PC down. And stay focused on the art. You fuck. Why can you not just sit straight on the monitor? No, up. Down. Fucking dick. Aim it up. A little bit. Okay. Move that shit. Move this shit. Move this there. This is a fucking... No. Oh, Holy Rogue, were you in the impact zone of Milton? I should say, were you in a high impact zone? Oh, thank God. Glad to hear that you're okay. That everything's going well. Shut the fuck up. Oh, you got the high winds and the rain. Any damage? I'm assuming like downed power lines or something. I mean, literally, I'm just drawing and coloring what comes to mind randomly. So, that's literally all this is. It started out with this little lampshade type thing here. Added the pull cord, led it to a cliff face with a little bunny, rabbit, cat, owl fucking thing. I don't even know what it is anymore. Um, Drew the cliff face. Drew the straight line down here with the kite string. Created the bird, triangles, triforce. Kite with robot arm. Little wing on the bird connecting to the like the Cupid's arrow type thing with the weird ass Google Chrome version of the logo in it. Dude with a golden rod standing on top of a warp whip. I've got a real fluffer squirrel down here, and I've got Audit My Asshole, a tribute to Tilty Bird. So, and then there's this little Christmas tree dude with a scarf, and he's on fire. Yeah, so just whatever the fuck you think, whatever lines, patterns, images, whatever comes to mind, just draw it out. That's what I'm doing. It doesn't need to make sense. I don't care if it makes sense. It's just me making stuff. So if you have like markers, crayons, pens, pencils, paper, so not looking forward to tomorrow. I don't have to go to bed till like 4 in the morning. It'll give me a good little while to start falling asleep. Art style is basic, and color choices are random. Whatever I feel like isn't gonna look like. My brain has a finicky thing of not wanting the same two colors to touch. So that's what I'm trying to do with this background. Art style is notebook sketch doodle. What you mean to say is. Well, I'm glad that you admire it. It's nice to know that someone likes it. I only think I'm going through this with this is because it'll just lead to some kind of end product and it'll make me feel like I actually fucking did something with my time. Instead of all the fucking fake productivity I've been showing. Well, it's still productivity, but it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. Actually, I do have one thing I need to do right now, and that is to copy over notes about RTC to the master document. No, it's in my fucking Gmail. I worked on a few notes while I was at work. Because we have little computers. Okay, so where... Nope. I'll say organizations. Not RTC. Alright. You know what? This is going to help my research. RTC. Fuck it. It's a research stream now. Alright. It wasn't going to be writing, index reformatting, gaming, or any of that. Or read and react. No, it ended up being research. Cool. I'm okay with that. Let me get this back up here. Get y'all situated. Feel like I'm getting my groove back. I'm gonna date it and I'm gonna put it on my wall. On my wall, I have a coloring page of a mind flare from D&D. Remember, I was working on it during some of the art stuff I was doing with Fluffer Squirrel. And I think by doing that piece, it made it easier for me to get back into art. I don't think had I ever done any of the had I never grabbed the D&D coloring book out of necessity for the stream, and then I ended up actually just really enjoying it. I used to do coloring at the outpatient mental health clinic facility that I used to go to. Religious technology. Okay, I was at this, but there was something else that I was looking for. Right. Religious Technology Center versus Netcom Online Communication Services. So, you know what? I'm going to read this out. So, facts. Plaintiff, RTC, Religious Technology Center, where David Miscavige is chairman of the board, held copyrights in the unpublished and published works of LRH. Defendant Dennis Ehrlich was a vocal critic of the church via the Usenet newsgroup Alt Religion Scientology. Ehrlich posted portions of copyrighted works of RTC on ARS. These were the OT levels. Ehrlich gained his access to the internet through the defendant, Tom Klemsrud's Bulletin Board Service, BBS, which had approximately 500 paying users. Klemsrud's BBS was linked to the internet through the facilities of defendant Netcom. When Ehrlich posted messages to Usenet, he transmitted his messages to Klemsrud's computer using a telephone and a modem, and the messages were briefly stored on Klemsrud's computer. Then the messages were automatically copied from his computer to Netcom's computers and other computers on the Usenet according to a prearranged pattern. Once the messages were on Netcom's computers, they were available to customers to download. The messages were stored on the system for 11 days and Klemsrud's system for 3. RTC failed to persuade Dennis Ehrlich to stop postings and contacted Tom and Netcom. Tom asked RTC to prove that it owned the copyright to the works, but RTC refused because they can't reveal that that crazy shit, is actually correct. Netcom similarly refused RTC's request that Ehrlich not be allowed to access the internet through its system. RTC alleged that Netcom was directly liable for making copies of its works. RTC also alleged that Netcom violated its exclusive rights to publicly display copies of its works. In the oral argument, RTC argued that Netcom violated its exclusive right to publicly distribute its works. Hang on. Just organizing. MAI Systems Core VP Computer Inc. established that the loading of data from a storage device into RAM constituted copying because that data stayed in RAM long enough for it to be perceived. Ehrlich's act of sending a message to ARS caused reproductions of portions of plaintiff's work on both Klemsrud's, Tom's, and Netcom's storage devices, and these reproductions were sufficiently fixed to constitute recognizable copies under the Copyright Act. Good morning, Brad. It's good to see you. Originally, this was going to be art therapy. Now it's research. So I have to actually change the title. Okay. So where were we? So we're talking about the RTC, Religious Technology Center, versus Netcom, online communications. Someone leaked the OT materials onto an old school bulletin board system, and now the host of that bulletin board system is getting sued. Ehrlich's act as got that. The court refused to impose direct liability on Netcom for making copies. The court first reasoned that in contrast with the case, the MAI case, the one about the RAM, Netcom did not take any affirmative action that could result in copying of RTC's work. The mere fact that Netcom's system incidentally made temporary copies of plaintiff's work did not mean Netcom had caused the copying. Basically, they weren't directly. Court further stated that although copyright was a strict liability statute, some element of volition or causation was still required to constitute copyright infringement. Since such element was lacking, Netcom was not liable for direct infringement. The court also considered the negative consequences of holding Netcom directly liable. If Netcom was liable for making autonomous and incidental copies, this would result in liability for every single Usenet server in the worldwide link of computers transmitting Ehrlich's message to every other computer. Hold on. The court concluded that there was no need to construe the Copyright Act to make all of these parties into infringers. Ooh, damn, that's good. Night, Matt. And good night, Judy. I will talk to you later. Alright, where was I? The court held that because the bulletin board system merely stored and passed along all messages sent by its subscribers automatically and indiscriminately, the BBS should not be seen as causing these works to be publicly distributed or displayed. Similar to the creation of fixed copies, since there was no causation, Netcom should not be held liable. The court found that there was no logical reason to hold Netcom uniquely responsible for distributing the messages. Since every Usenet server had a role in distributing, holding Netcom liable would mean liability for all of these Usenet servers. Conclusion. The court held that it could not see any meaningful distinction between what Netcom did and what every other Usenet server did. Adopting a rule that held Netcom liable could lead to the liability of countless parties whose role in the infringement was nothing more than setting up and operating a system that was necessary for the functioning of the internet. Contributory infringement. Contributory infringement can be established if the defendant has knowledge of the infringing activity and induces, causes, or materially contributes to the infringing conduct of another. The court held that if RTC could prove that Netcom had knowledge of the infringing activities, Netcom would be liable for contributory infringement, since its failure to simply cancel Ehrlich's infringing message and thereby stop an infringing copy from being distributed could constitute substantial participation. However, there was a question of fact as to whether Netcom knew or should have known that such activities were infringing after receipt of RTC's letter. This genuine issue of fact precluded summary judgment on contributory liability, i.e., the court could not make a decision on contributory liability without trial because of factual disputes. The court held that Netcom did not completely relinquish control over how its system could be used. If Netcom could take simple measures to prevent further damage to RTC's copyrighted work, yet continued to aid in the accomplishment of Ehrlich's purpose of publicly distributing the postings, the participation of Netcom would be substantial. Vicarious liability. A defendant is liable for vicarious liability for the actions of a primary infringer if the defendant A. has the right and ability to control the infringer's acts, and B. receives a direct financial benefit from the infringement. RTC claimed that Netcom's terms of service specified that Netcom reserved the right to take remedial action against subscribers. Netcom argued that it could not possibly screen messages before they were posted, and it had never exercised control over the content of users' postings. RTC distributed Netcom's claims. The court concluded that RTC raised a genuine issue of fact as to whether Netcom had the right and ability to exercise control over the activities of its subscribers, i.e., the court could not make a decision on the issue without trial because of factual disputes. The court held that Netcom did not receive direct financial benefit because Netcom received only a fixed fee, and there was no evidence that infringement by Ehrlich in any way enhanced the value of Netcom's services to subscribers or attracted new subscribers. Since RTC failed to prove that Netcom received direct financial benefit from the infringing activity, RTC's claim of vicarious liability failed. Netcom argued that RTC's theory of liability contravened the First Amendment. The court held that imposing liability for copyright infringement where it was otherwise appropriate did not necessarily raise a First Amendment issue. Oh, really? Of course they bring it to the First Amendment. Fucking assholes. Oh, it's just a freedom of religion. You guys are religious bigots. Go fuck yourself. Since the copyright concepts of the idea/expression dichotomy in the fair use defense balanced the First Amendment and, quote, promoting the progress of science and useful arts, close quote, clause of the United States Constitution. The court considered whether the actions of Netcom qualified as fair use. The Copyright Act has set out 4 non-exclusive factors. Purpose and character of the use. The court held that although Netcom's use was to carry out its commercial function as an internet access provider, the use benefited the public in allowing for the functioning of the internet. The court also held that since financial incentive was unrelated to the infringing activity, the commercial nature of the use should not be dispositive. Furthermore, Netcom's use of copyrighted material served a completely different function than that of the plaintiffs. Therefore, this factor weighed in favor of fair use. Nature of the copyrighted work. The works used were unpublished and creative. However, since Netcom's use of the works was merely to facilitate their posting to the Usenet, which was an entirely different purpose than the plaintiff's use, the nature of the works was not important to the fair use determination. Citing Sony v. Universal, this is for amount and substantiality of portion used. Citing Sony v. Universal, the court stated the mere fact that all of a work was copied was not determinative of the fair use question. The court held that since Netcom copied no more than necessary to function as a Usenet server, this factor should not defeat an otherwise valid defense. Effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Netcom urged the court to focus on the normal market for the copyrighted work. Yeah, not the Scientology market, which was through a Scientology-based organization. RTC responded that online distribution had the effect of market substitution. The court held that evidence raised a genuine issue of fact as to the possibility of market harm, which precluded summary judgment, i.e., the court could not make a decision on this factor without trial because of factual disputes. Conclusion. The court concluded that genuine issues of fact precluded summary judgment on contributory copyright infringement liability, and Netcom's, I'm going to be honest, half this shit's going in and out. Copyright infringement liability and Netcom's fair use defense, i.e. the court could not make a decision on contributory infringement and Netcom's fair use defense without trial because of factual disputes, and that RTC's claims of direct and vicarious infringement failed. According to something, the case was codified in Online Copyright Infringement Liability Limitation Act as a portion of Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The same report also refers to this case as the leading and most thoughtful judicial decision to date. What? Hold up. Yep. Case law. Wow. That's fucking crazy. Alright, that's going in the random little summary bits. Interesting summaries. I had no idea. RTC v. Netcom Online Communication Servers Inc. Let me see this. Go to DMCA. That's a lot of shit. There it is. Online copyright infringement liability. Okay, so the Online Copyright Infringement Liability Limitation Act was part of the DMCA notice and takedown issue section. Cool. Okay. There we go. That's better. All right. So that was interesting. What else can I learn from RTC? Because I'd seen a couple of things. Actually, no, there was something I saw. Where is it? Let's click. Ooh, let me check my... If I can get this person to talk, this will be very interesting. Someone that helped to incorporate RTC. This would be fucking incredible if I could speak with them. So I had found out today that the Inspector General Network, where is it? Where's the fucking IGN? The IGN is a legal representative for RTC and a secular registered owner of RTC's trade and service marks in countries where contracts by religious corporations are not enforced. All corporate positions of IGN were held by members of RTC. Can I have this form? I found something and I want it. Can I have it? What the fuck? Is this it? Maybe? Please? The Chronicle of Philanthropy. No thanks. I want to read the stupidest fucking document. Guardian's Office, Author Services. Let me go to RTC. Norman Starkey. Here was the list. Scientology officials. Bob Adams, former professional American football player in the NFL. What? Adams served in 2004 as senior vice president of the Association for Better Living and Education, aka ABLE. Adams worked in 2006 as a communications executive with the Church of Scientology in Hollywood. He was a vice president of the Church of Scientology in 2006. Held the position of vice president of public affairs for the church for CSI in 2009, as well as vice president of the International School of Science. John Carmichael became a Scientology ordained minister in 73. Since at least 87, he was president of the Church of New York. As of 2006, was the spokesman for all the Scientology establishments in the New York and New Jersey area. Mark Ingber, Sea member since 1968, was at one point chief of OSA, and at another time, COCMO and WDC chairman. That's Commanding Officer, Commodore's Messenger Organization International, as well as the Watchdog Committee. Actually, now I want to learn about the Watchdog Committee. God damn it. Why can I not just stick to something? In the 2004 musical chairs ordeal. Yeah. Ingber was noted as violently and ruthlessly staying in the game until he was eliminated with just 3 remaining participants. Last known location was in the hole, and he had been declared suppressive, but kept on base with the other executives labeled as such by David Miscavige. Warren McShane. McShane joined Scientology in 73 and held numerous positions, including working in the Guardian's office and holding the position of Assistant Guardian for Intelligence in New York. In 1983, he joined RTC and held the post of President of RTC and later Deputy Inspector General for Legal Affairs, RTC. McShane registered numerous trademarks for Scientology. In RTC's attempt to stop the online publishing of their OT-level texts in RTC v. Wallersheim, which I now want to read, McShane testified that the church deserves significant revenue from the fixed donations its members pay to study the texts. According to Mike Rinder, his reputation with Miscavige was, "He's the best liar I know," and McShane was frequently used in lawsuit depositions to deny Miscavige's involvement with day-to-day operations. We all know who David Miscavige is. We all know who Shelley Miscavige is. We know who Kendrick Moxon is. Karen Powell, some of you may know who she is, a spokesman, director of public affairs for CSI, and a member of OSA. Eric Roux, he's a spokesman, president of the Union of the Churches of Scientology in France, vice president of the European Office of the Church of Scientology for Public Affairs and Human Rights, chairman of European Interreligious Forum for Religious Freedom, fuck you, and has authored the book Everything You Need to Know About Scientology in French. Kenneth Howard Shapiro, registrar at LA. Why is he important? Norman Starkey joined in 1960 in South Africa, served on he was on the Apollo? No shit. Well, I have a note to add about Norman Starkey. Yes. Norman Starkey. Oh, I already have that. Captain R.A., aka Right Arm, on Apollo. Damn it. That's me, he's already getting this shit. Alright. Where was I? In a will executed the day before the death of LRH, Starkey was appointed trustee and executor of Hubbard's estate, Authors Trust Fund B. For years, Starkey was deputy to David Miscavige and was involved in many of the actions related to corporate corporate category sort out project of the 1980s. After the corporate sort out, the CST was created to take over the functions of Authors Trust Fund B, with Starkey in charge and doing businesses as LRH Library. Starkey's worked in the All Clear... I have so much to learn. And it makes me happy. Starkey worked in the All Clear Unit, CMO, the GO Legal Bureau, AVC Aid Post, was in charge of the RPF at Happy Valley. Oh, God, you were and has been president of ASI. According to an account by Mark Headley in at least one of Miscavige's group punishments, it was Norman Starkey who read the lines for the overboard drill at Gold. Whoa, what the fuck is the overboard drill, motherfucker? You can't just say that shit and. Well, hang on. Who read the lines for the overboard drill at Gold Base? We commit your sins to the waves. May you arise a better Thetan. Read prior to each staff member before being forced to jump into the swimming pool wearing their full uniform. Oh. I don't know why I forgot what overboarding was. Should have known that. I guess it's the snacks that I had earlier. Reported to have been one of the prisoners in the hole. Michelle Stiff, aka Shell Stiff, or Chell. In 2005, was president of the Church of LA, later deputy executive director of the church in Pasadena. Kurt Weiland, director of external affairs, OSA, and director of CSI. Mark Yeager. Yeager joined the Sea Org in 1974 as a teenager and sailed with Hubbard on the Apollo. As a member of the Commodore's messenger organization, he worked as Hubbard's personal messenger and assisted Hubbard in video production. Yeager was appointed commanding officer of CMON and Inspector General for Administration RTC. As CO of CMON, he held the post of chairman of the Watchdog Committee. Yeager suffered years of abuse from Miscavige, including being physically assaulted. He was held under private watch and then assigned to the RPF, and then was later confined in the hole. David Gaiman was part of the Guardian's office and later public relations director for Scientology in the UK. We all know who L. Ron Hubbard and Mary Sue are. Annie Tidman, aka Annie Broker. She was one of LRH's primary caretakers in his last years until his death in 86. Tidman was one of the original 4 Commodore's messengers, joining in 68 at the age of 12. Along with her then husband, Pat Broker, the couple produced a document allegedly from Hubbard wherein he deemed the couple as successors in leading the Church of Scientology. In 1987, David Miscavige published a counter-document stating the original was fabricated and that he was elevating himself as leader of the church. Pat left, Annie stayed. Tidman tried to escape in 1992, but was caught and remained at Gold Base until her death in 2011. Hold on. Is Pat Broker still alive? He's still alive. Maybe. Give me a sec. Maybe. Give me a sec. Oh, Vicky and Richard Asneran. I was actually thinking about Vicky Asneran today, just trying to remember what the fuck she was in the whole structure of everything. She joined in 72. She was a Sea Org member who rose to be one of the top officials in the church. Was a deputy for Annie Broker, who had posted her as Inspector General RTC. Vicky's husband, Richard, was the church's head of security. When Hubbard died, David made his play for power and displaced the brokers. By 87, Miscavige installed himself as head of RTC, and he purged anyone loyal to the brokers or the Asnerans. The Asnerans were sent to the RPF. in 87, but left the Sea Org shortly thereafter. In 1988, the Asnerans filed suit against the Church of Scientology for false imprisonment and emotional abuse. The complaint alleged staff were treated with physical abuse, lack of sleep, brainwashing, and slave-like conditions. Among other deprivations, the alleged staff were paid with tokens to be exchanged for room and board, and any dissatisfaction with their work or attitude would cause tokens to be withheld, resulting in staff sleeping outside and being fed only rice, beans, and water. In the early 1980s, both those were the team share cards. Pretty sure. Team share. Yeah. Right? Team share at gold. Hang on. What were they called? I have them written. Let me check the mega document. Management. Nope. Okay. Whoever's here, feel free to say hi in the chat. Hold on. In the early 1980s, both Richard and Vicky Asneran had been assigned to the RPF at different times, separating them from each other. Even when not on the RPF, they were separated for lengthy periods, including a time where Richard was sent to Hubbard's ranch and was made to sleep in a horse stable. Fuck. Hello, Brad. They cooperated with Richard Behar for his... Oh, hey, D Essentials. It's good to see you. Thanks for working on the chronological index. He cooperated with Richard Behar for his 1991 expose, The Thriving Cult of Greed and Power, where Vicky is quoted as saying this is a criminal organization day in and day out. In an interview with Forrest Sawyer, which preceded Miscavige's only television interview, Vicky said that Miscavige ordered attacks. Have them, their homes, broken into, have them beaten, have things stolen from them, slash their tires, break their car windows, whatever. The Asnerans filed affidavits in support of Fishman in the case of CSI versus Fishman and Geertz. However, at some point, Richard Asneran reached out to Mike Rinder to negotiate a settlement of their own case, and they did settle, and Vicky retracted her March 1994 affidavit just a month later. Pat Broker, yep. Husband and wife team along with Annie Broker as confidants and caretakers of LRH. Deemed Hubbard's successors, but were overthrown. John Brousseau, joined Scientology in the 70s when he was 21, was in the Sea Org for 32 years, and fled in 2010. After contacting former executives Marty Rathbun and Mike Rinder, Brousseau was interviewed by the FBI several times and agreed to cooperate with the investigations of the church into abuses at Ian Base. While in the Sea Org, he worked many different jobs, including being assigned to the Tom Cruise household, where he trained Cruise's staff to anticipate needs, but to remain invisible. He also worked in the Scientology filmmaking department and was Hubbard's chauffeur for years, buying and customizing vehicles for Hubbard while he was in hiding. As a craftsman, Brousseau restored vehicles, customized luxury vehicles, and built fine woodwork. He supervised a comprehensive renovation on the Freewind ship after its asbestos remediation. At another time, he was assigned to security detail and was in charge of incarcerating people who wanted to leave, and after he mentioned he could no longer bear it, he was himself incarcerated in the RPF for 3 years. He admitted to being the one who installed the steel bars and locks on the hull at David Miscavige's order. Brousseau's delusion started to crack when Miscavige ordered him to abuse his own juniors, and he considered that Scientology's problems were likely caused by Miscavige's abusive leadership style. After watching all 4 episodes of Anderson Cooper 360 about Scientology, He planned his departure, realizing he couldn't effect any real change because he was, quote, an ant in a war zone. Rousseau was married twice in the Sea Org and was once brother-in-law to David Miscavige because their wives were sisters. What? Damn. Tommy Davis, former spokesman and director of CCN, listed as international spokesperson. Jessica Feshbach joined the Sea Org in 94, and in 2005, MSNBC characterized her as a senior Scientologist, and Fox News Channel called her a high-level Scientologist within the organization. In 2006, MSNBC described Feshbach as a high-level Scientology practitioner and member of the church's influential Feshbach family. Feshbach began working with assistants to celebrate Scientology member and actor Tom Cruise. In April 2005, she attended to Katie Holmes. By 2009, Feshbach had become a public spokesperson for Scientology, and as of January 2011, she was listed as an international spokesperson. Huh. Jefferson Hawkins, I'm sure y'all already know who the fuck that is. Former Sea Org member. Joined in 1967 and was in for 37 years. Worked in the marketing unit, creator of the 1980s Dianetics promotional campaign, including TV ads for the exploding volcano, which landed the book onto the New York Times bestseller list. The first of 5 assaults by David Miscavige was in 2002 when Miscavige leapt off a table on top of Hawkins, hitting him and choking him. His book, Counterfeit Dreams, One Man's Journey into and Out of the World of Scientology, was published in 2010. I should get his book. Mark and Claire Headley worked at Gold Base. Claire worked for RTC, and Mark was in media productions. Left in 2006 and published Blown for Good. Unsuccessfully sued Scientology for forced labor. David Mayo, former auditor of L. Ron Hubbard, former senior case supervisor international, ousted by David Miscavige and sentenced to physical punishment in 82. Escaped, and in 83 started his own splinter group called the Advanced Stability Center. That's where this fucking chart comes from? Oh. Sorry, hang on. I'll read about David Mayo after. Ron Miscavige was David Miscavige's dad. Entered in 69 and in 85 moved to Gold, where he composed music for church albums and promotional materials. Left in 2012 and in 2016 published his book. Has since passed away. Rest in peace. Marty Rathbun, former president of RTC, left the church and took part in a St. Petersburg Times expose. Today practices Scientology outside of the church, operating a website that has become an online community for what he calls independent Scientologists. Mike Rinder, former ED of OSA Int. After years of abuse in the hole, Rinder escaped in London in 2007. Aaron Saxton, former member of CMO and senior official within the SO. Later a prominent whistleblower whose exposés prompted debates in the Australian Senate. Andre Tabayoyan, an ex-Marine with Vietnam War experience, worked for the church for 21 years and was the security chief for Gold Base. He later testified extensively on the security conditions of the base, including weapons, explosives, security fencing with spikes, armed patrols, monitoring devices, conditions of labor, the RPF, practices of forced confessionals, fair game, and other human rights abuses. When he left the church, David Miscavige, as revenge, ordered Tabayoyan's son to change his name and then shipped him off to Denmark. Fuck! Oh my god. Holy shit, that is brutal. Robert Vaughn Young and Stacy Brooks, aka Stacy Young. Vaughn worked for the church for 22 years, was a national spokesperson and worldwide public relations officer. He worked under David Miscavige at ASI. Sorry, hang on. What was that? Stacy Brooks worked for the church for 15 years under Mike Rinda at OSA USA. In '89, they left the Sea Org together and were fair gamed and surveilled, but for years, both later were expert witnesses in several prominent legal cases. Vaughn went on to become an online critic, and Stacy an anti-Scientology advocate with the Lisa McPherson Trust. Oh, damn, that's fucking cool. All right, Advanced Ability Center. Hold on. The UK group be better? No. The Advanced Ability Center was a breakaway organization from the church, established by former Scientologist David Mayo after leaving the church in February of '83. A time when most of the upper and middle management was removed following the formation of RTC and David Miscavige's restructuring. David Mayo had been Hubbard's auditor, and the Advanced Ability Center later became the Theta International Movement and was also known as the Church of the New Civilization. What? Fuck, those are some creepy ass names. Mayo taught material from the OT levels of the church in the Advanced Ability Center. A division of the center was closed down again in 1984 under pressure from the main organization. According to Perspectives on the New Age, edited by James R. Lewis and J. Gordon Melton and published in 1992, the Advanced Ability Center was formed in Milan and was in competition with the church's organization in Italy. Mayo joined Scientology in '57 as a staff member and joined the Sea Org in '68. He trained with LRH up to the level of Class 12. Damn, he knew his shit. And worked with Hubbard on the OT levels 5 to 7. Mayo had been LRH's auditor and rose to the position of senior CSN. He was ousted during David Miscavige's struggle for power, declared suppressive, and sentenced to the running program. Dude. Mayo escaped and founded the center. RTC sued Mayo in LA, claiming intellectual property infringement, filed a RICO suit, and started an extensive harassment campaign against him and the center. Mayo countersued, and RTC was sanctioned millions of dollars. In 1985, Scientology successfully enjoined Mayo from selling Scientology services. And AAC was bankrupted and closed by 1986. So he started it when? 82. And it was closed by 86. Huh. We're going to look through the article and see if I can find anything interesting that I want to read. Fuck yeah, we'll click the running program. One Sea Org punishment, called the running program, was turned into a fee-based service for public Scientologists called the Cause Resurgence Rundown. Allegedly devised as a therapy by Hubbard in the early '80s and liberally doled out by David Miscavige's punishments, this program required a person to run around a fixed point, such as a pole or a tree, for hours each day until they were exhausted, repeating this every day until they had some sort of realization. The minimum time to run each day was 5 hours, with many people being ordered to do 10 to 12. My God. That is... Fuck. Participants were not allowed to talk to each other. Short breaks for food and short rests were permitted before being goaded to continue by a supervisor. For decades, rain or shine, summer or winter, in the high desert of Gilman Hot Springs, and sometimes in full Navy-style uniform, Sea Org members have run around a palm tree on a makeshift running track. Injuries and medical issues have been common, and many have left the Sea Org after being ordered to do said program. Though a common punishment for Sea Org members only at gold, in the early 80s, some of the franchise owners were ordered onto the running program. In 82, David Mayo was ordered onto it, after which he left the Sea Org, having decided Miscavige was destroying Hubbard's work. Amy Scobie reported that a diabetic woman was ordered to the running program. She went into hypoglycemic shock, and they gave her some insulin and ordered her back to the track, being pushed in a wheelchair. This shit gets more and more fucking brutal. In 2003, Mark Headley did the running program for 3 months as part of a pilot prior to the church marketing the program for its paying members. This, in fact, became a popular form of punishment. The running program was a nasty, physically exhausting experience that was supposed to be another Hubbard cure for recalcitrant Sea Org members. Remarkably, this punishment has been remarketed into a program called the Cause Resurgence Rundown, based on Hubbard's claim that circling around a fixed object aligns your energy flows and restores your power as a Thetan. People pay $5,000 to run in circles around a pole in the center of a large room at the Flag Land Base, a testament to how Scientologists will accept anything if they're told that it comes from Hubbard. We're going to read this thing about ethics and statistics. In Scientology, production statistics are of paramount importance. Stats, as they are frequently called, are plotted on a graph, usually weekly, and the slope of the line of the graph indicates one's condition for the week. The term statistics is more generally used in a symbolic sense to refer to a person's level of effectiveness and productivity, or as a qualitative measure of the effects that he or she causes. When you reward down statistics and penalize up statistics, you get down statistics. If you reward non-production, you get non-production. When you penalize production, you get non-production. That is a quote from Hubbard. Conditions. Hubbard defined 7 levels of conditions and 5 lower conditions, and codified a condition formula to perform in order to rise to the next higher one. For example, one starts a post in the condition of non-existence. If one performs the steps for the condition of non-existence, then one rises next to the higher condition, which is danger. Continuing to perform the requisite formulas, one will rise up to emergency, then normal, then affluence, then power, then finally power change. If one fails to correctly perform the steps of the condition one is in, one drops down to the next level lower. The conditions are usually assigned with non-existence at the bottom, and the conditions are assigned based on the angle of the line of the graph. Power change, what one does if one takes on someone else's post that was in a condition of power. Power, a normal trend in a new higher range. Affluence condition, line on graph is steeply uptrending. Normal, line on graph is slightly uptrending. Emergency condition, line on graph remains level or is slightly downtrending. Danger condition, line on graph is more than slightly downtrending. Non-existence, the line on graph is steeply or vertically down, or no statistics at all. An example of a condition formula is the emergency formula. Promote, change your operating basis, economize, prepare to deliver, stiffen discipline. Lower conditions are not based on statistics graphs. When there is deviance from social or production norms, one is assigned one of the 5 lower conditions, which also have formulas. The purpose of performing the steps of each formula is to get upgraded to the next higher condition until one is back at non-existent. The rankings of lower conditions start at the lowest level, which is confusion, and rises through treason, enemy, doubt, liability, and back to non-existence. An example of a step on the lower condition is step 3 of the liability formula. Make up the damage one has done by personal contribution far beyond the ordinary demands of a group member. Dang. A person whose statistic is uptrending is called an upstat. A person whose is downtrending is called a downstat. In 65, Hubbard wrote, ethics actions are often used to handle down individual stats. A person who's not doing his job becomes an ethics target, and goes on to detail how a Scientologist can protect himself from ethics punishment by being more productive in keeping statistics up. In short, a staff member can get away with murder so long as his statistic is up and can't sneeze without a chop if it's down. If the staff member's production is sufficiently high, the Scientologist gains an immunity to the ethics process, even if they have openly committed violations. When people do start reporting a staff member with a high stat, what you investigate is the person who turned in the report. In an ancient army, a particularly brave deed was recognized by an award of the title of Kakan. It was not of rank. The person remained what he was, but he was entitled to be forgiven the death penalty 10 times in case in the future he did anything wrong. That was a Kakan. That's what producing high statistic staff members are. Kakans. They can get away with murder without a blink from ethics, and ethics must recognize a Kakan when it sees one and tear up the bad report chits on the person with a yawn. Yeah, fair justice, according to Hubbard. Fuck you. Fuck it, let's go to CMO. The first CMO were appointed by LRH in 68 while he was living above the Sea Org ship aboard the Sea Org ship Apollo. These messengers were his personal administrative assistants and operated solely under his direction, ensuring that management was following Hubbard's policies. The original 4 messengers were sisters Janice Gillum, aged 11, and Terry Gillum, aged 12, Annie Tidman, aged 12, and Hubbard's youngest daughter, Suzette, aged 13. In 1975, while sailing in the Caribbean due to the high heat and humidity, the messengers devised their uniforms themselves: white shorts, tie tops, and platform shoes with knee-high socks. Messengers conveyed messages from Hubbard, and they were trained to mimic Hubbard's exact tone and mannerisms. According to messenger Tanya Burden, CMO recruits were required to practice specific training routines to attain this skill. During the training routines, myself and 2 others practiced carrying messages to LRH. We had to listen to a message, repeat it in the same tone, and practice salutes. Oh, piece of blue sky. I have that downstairs. I should totally go get that. Sea Org member Doreen Smith recalled a conversation she had with Hubbard concerning the origins of the CMO and why he had focused on young girls to carry out his personal tasks and deliver his executive orders. I once asked him why he chose young girls as messengers. He said it was an idea he had picked up from Nazi Germany. He said Hitler was a madman, but nevertheless a genius in his own right, and the Nazi youth was one of the smartest ideas he ever had. With young people, you had a blank slate, and you could write anything you wanted on it, and it would be yours. That was his idea, to take young people and mold them into little Hubbards. He said he had girls because women were more loyal than men. In 79, the Watchdog Committee was created out of senior executives of CMO. Along the interface between Hubbard and the rest of the church, part of the CMO became the senior management body, the CMO Int. But as the Commodore's messenger org was quite obviously connected to the Commodore, they had to find a new title. So the Watchdog Committee came into being in April 79. It consisted solely of the senior executives of CMO Int. The function of WDC was to put senior management back on post. They did this by absorbing all top management posts. In 1981, the All Clear unit was set up at CMO Int with the purpose of ensuring an all clear for Hubbard to emerge from hiding. As head of the unit, David Miscavige took orders only from Pat Broker, who was accountable only to Hubbard. Members, notable members. Suzette Hubbard, LRH's youngest daughter, was briefly in the CMO at the age of 13. When she was replaced, she went to work on the decks. Peace out, Brad. Have a good night. Or good day. Janice Gillum, aged 11, joined the Sea Org in January of 68. She regularly attended to Hubbard for the next 11 years until he went into hiding in 79. In 2017, she authored Commodore's Messenger, A Child Adrift in the Scientology Sea Organization, and in 2018, Commodore's Messenger Book 2, Riding Out the Storms with LRH. Terry Gillum later became the executive director of Author Services, Inc., and worked closely with David Miscavige. Annie Tidman, yeah, we already know about Annie Tidman. Sharon Stainforth, age 10, joined the Sea Org at 67. You didn't need to say age 10 twice. And became one of Hubbard's original messengers on the Apollo. After leaving, she became a critic. Give me a minute. Michelle Barnett, aka Shelley Miscavige, was a messenger at age 12. She married David, and she's gone. Mike Rinder joined at 18 and worked under Hubbard on the Apollo in 73. He joined CMO in 78, became the church's international spokesperson. Rinder left in 07. Pat Broker was aboard the Apollo with his wife, and they were taking care of Hubbard at the time of his death. An order was issued promoting Broker and his wife to the rank of loyal officer, but that order was later canceled. Mark Yeager, I think we already covered Mark Yeager. Yes, we did. And we already know who David Miscavige is. Can I go to the website, please? Oh, it's the Village Voice. You. What the fuck is this? $10,000 Scientologists got this email today about disconnection, their church president, and a mysterious death. By Tony Ortega, July 9th, 2012. This morning, more than 10,000 Scientologists found an email from Karen de la Carriere in their inboxes written in jargon that they will understand and informing them of the controversy surrounding the death of her son, Alex Jensch. As we reported first on Thursday night, she learned about the death of her 27-year-old son more than 2 days after he was found, unresponsive, at the home of his in-laws in LA. The manner of death is still being investigated, but the county coroner says there's no suspicion of foul play. She had not been notified that her son had died and was lying in a morgue, and only learned about it through Facebook chatter that eventually was passed to her. In 2010, Karen was excommunicated for speaking out critically, and her son had been forced by the church to disconnect. Now the church was also keeping her in the dark about his death, and she was barred from the mortuary and could not see his body. Alexander's father is Heber Jensch, aka president of CSI. She's not been seen in public since 2004. Damn. Taking a page from Debbie Cook, whose New Year's Eve email about problems with Scientology's leader David Miscavige had fueled a growing split in the church. De La Carriere told us she wants to make sure church members learn something about what's going on. She believes that Heber, age 76, may have not even been told that his son had died. Several days ago, we emailed Scientology attorney Gary Soder asking if Heber had been notified about the death and asking about Heber's whereabouts, but we have not received a reply. For several days, Karen has been gathering mailing lists of thousands of church members through the help of sympathetic Scientologists. She says that she wrote her letter with the sensibilities of church members in mind and not for the general public, as will be obvious as you read it. Here's a text of what she wrote. We put in some annotations to help with some of the jargon. All right. Dear Scientologist, I'm emailing you as a friend and fellow Scientologist to let you know that the mysterious and sudden death of my son, Alexander Jensch, at 27 years of age, on July 3rd, 2012. Although I'm not in the Sea Org right now, I served aboard the flagship Apollo, where I was trained by LRH to the level of Class 12 case supervisor. I am one of only 7 Class 12 CSs LRH ever made. Wow. Originally, yeah, we knew that. After LRH took flag ashore in Clearwater, I met and fell in love with Heber Jensch. We married, and Heber went on to become the president of CSI. I remained devoted to LRH and to my duties as a Class 12 CS at Flag. I won Auditor of the Year at Flag numerous times. In 1984, I gave birth to our son, Alexander. Alexander was born in the Sea Org. He formally joined it when he was 8. 8? Shit. Despite the promises that Sea Org recruiters made to Alexander, he did not receive a proper education. While other children were in school, Alexander was cleaning toilets and mopping floors at Flag. As a child working in the Sea Org, Alexander was made to work long hours and would sometimes sneak away to call me on the phone in tears. While LRH had made family time a daily requirement in the Sea Org, things radically changed under COB RTC David Miscavige, and family time virtually disappeared. Unless there's a death or a PR flap of some kind, Sea Org members are almost never allowed to see their families. Alexander seldom saw his father, Heber. Factually, years would go by between the times Alexander was allowed to see his father. Alexander called himself the boy with no dad. He saw Heber less than 11 times in 14 years. COB RTC David Miscavige ordered Heber Jensch and I to be divorced, and has utterly destroyed our second dynamic. I was suddenly a single mother with a child to support. Heber was unable to pay any. Indeed, Heber could not even support himself on his $50 per week Sea Org pay. I did not protest this, as Heber was president of CSI, and I did not want to create a flap for the church. The church had me sign affidavits on video camera that I would never ask for child support. I was suddenly a single mother with a child. Heber was unable to pay any child support. Indeed, Heber... Hold on. Why did they say that twice? I routed out in 1990 and took many years to pay off my $90,000 freeloader debt. I paid my freeloader debt so that I could remain a Scientologist in good standing. I knew LRH and knew the tech worked miracles. After I left the SO, I remained a loyal member of the church. I raised Alexander by myself and supported him financially when he entered the Sea Org. Alexander served on many posts during the 16 years he was in. When he was a young man, Alexander married Andrea Cavan, a fellow Sea Org member. Alexander and Andrea Jensch routed out in 2010 due to the fact that Andrea was pregnant and babies are not allowed in the SO. She miscarried. That's sad. Jesus, how long does this go? Hang on. Sometime after they routed out, I made the decision to publicly depart the church in 2010 for the same reasons Debbie Cook outlined in the letter of January 1, 2012. Like Debbie, I saw the church engaging in extreme overedging and gross out tech. Having been trained to deliver the highest technical levels of Scientology possible, I knew what standard tech is and is not. My decision to leave the church was based upon my deep respect for LRH and hold on, in my 100% commitment to preserve his legacy and technology. I could no longer be a part of what was happening in the church under the deeply suppressive management of David Miscavige. I was declared a suppressive person. My son Alexander and his wife were forced to disconnect from me by OSA when I left. In 2010, Alexander's father, Heber Jench, was 75 years old and had not been allowed to see our son for many years. Heber had been locked up in the Int base RPF for many years and remains locked up with other international executives. Due to the policies of disconnection in RPF, Alexander effectively had no parents in 2010. After he left the Sea Org, Alexander took a job in sales at a Scientology-owned company in Dallas. During this time, Alexander was involved in a traffic accident that injured him to such an extent that he began to take prescription pain pills. He lost his job and began on a downward spiral. Because Alexander did not have $10,000 or more, the church would not give him any auditing to handle the engram from the traffic accident. The church would not even give Alexander any charity chaplain auditing. It did not matter that Alexander's parents had served more than 50 years in the Sea Org. There is no compassion or mercy in the church for present time. As a Class 12 CS, I have the technical skills necessary to help anyone. I could have helped my son Alexander handle the engram from the traffic accident. However, due to the policy of disconnection, no one from the church had ever called me to let me know that my only child had been badly injured. As an art dealer, I have a good income. I would have immediately paid to give my son the best medical care possible. Again, however, due to the policy of disconnection, no one from the church ever called me to let me know that he was injured. It came as a shock to me that when someone called to let me know that Alexander had been found dead in his bed on the morning of July 3rd, 2012. Alexander died at the home of his in-laws in LA. Both of his in-laws are new OG7. It was only after I began to ask questions that I learned of the traffic accident and that Alexander had allegedly died from a high fever. Through its spokesperson, the church was very quick to publicly state that Alexander had left no suicide note and had over-medicated himself. This was a strange and suspicious claim coming from the same church that claims to have the most powerful technology on the planet. I'm working very hard to find out the truth about my son's death because the church will not tell me anything and has forbidden Andrea or her family from telling me anything. The behavior of the church raises questions. Where was the tech when Alexander needed it? He served 16 years in the Sea Org. Why not a lifeline in his time of need? Why did two new OT7s allow a fellow Scientologist in good standing to over-medicate himself? Why had two OTs failed to help Alexander? This is a gross violation of Point 1 in the Code of Honor written by LRH in 54. Never desert a comrade in need, in danger, or in trouble. Alexander was clearly in need, danger, and trouble, and yet he was utterly deserted. I wanted only to cremate my son quickly per the scriptures of Scientology. When I sent a messenger over to the home of Alexander's in-laws to ask for his body, I was told any communication between Andrea and myself must go through OSA. There would be no funeral or viewing for Alexander. Worse, I was told that I would not be allowed to take one last look at my son. This is the church in 2012 under David Miscavige. An LRH-trained Class 12 CS cannot use the tech to help her own son. A grieving mother cannot see her son's body one last time. No one will help a comrade in need, danger, or trouble for fear of incurring the wrath of David Miscavige or OSA. The church did not tell me that Alexander died. I gotta go to bed. I had to find out from someone who cared enough to tell me. The church never told you why Debbie Cook left as captain of FSO. Instead, Debbie Cook sent out a letter herself to tell you why. The church is not telling you that LRH's granddaughter, Roanne Horwich, recently blew from Int base. The Church of Scientology under David Miscavige is a church full of secrets, lies, and injustices. The Church of Scientology under David Miscavige uses disconnection and SP declares only to keep the truth from being known. I'm writing this letter to let you know that the church has tried to keep secret the news that Alexander Jench, whose father Heber is still the president of CSI, died. The church is keeping other secrets from you as well. Why is the superpower building still not open after almost 20 years? Where does all the money go? Why are all the ideal orgs empty? Where's the expansion claimed by COB? That the entire Dror mission in Israel just left the church, and why? I'm a Scientologist, and will always be a Scientologist, for I know the power of the tech. I love LRH and care enough about the tech and the church created to send you this letter. I close by quoting what Debbie Cook said very well in her letter. We all have a stake in this. It is simply not possible to read the LRH references and not see the alterations and violations that are currently occurring. You have a very simple obligation to LRH. Don't participate in anything off policy, and the others know they should not either. If every person who reads this email does nothing more than step back from off policy actions, we would have changed direction. If we took all that energy and directed it into auditing, training, and raw public dissemination, we would be winning. ARC, Karen de la Carriere, Class 12 CS, crew member, Flagship Apollo. Alright. I'm probably gonna go lay down. Peace out.